Hey, you guys. So I had my run today, and over the last couple of months, I've shared with you some of the stuff that I've learned about myself and about this life out here on these trails and out here pounding this pavement. And it might possibly be that I share something that doesn't even at all remotely apply to your life. And if that's the case, that's totally okay. And it might be that I share something that totally makes sense. And you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I see my own self displaying some of those behaviors or taking care of some of those bad habits or some of those challenges that she talked about today. Those are things that I could absolutely apply in my life. And so the cool part is that if it works for you, then totally apply it. If it doesn't, then just discard it, and that's okay. It's not going to hurt my feelings. There's lots of stuff that people share that I think to myself, well, I'm really glad that that works for them, but that doesn't really work for me. And then there's stuff that people share, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I've waited 38 years to hear this. Why did it take so long? And so, here we go. What did I learn about myself and about this journey called life today out here running on these trails and out here running on this pavement? Well, I can tell you, I knew that my kids were going to be gone to their dads tonight, and I knew that my oldest son had to work, so guess what? It's just going to be me and the house. And so those are the perfect nights for me to be able to go and run. My responsibility level is pretty low. Sure, I've got stuff I've got to do around the house. Sure, I've got a workout that I could get in at the gym. But really, for the most part, I kind of have an open schedule. And so I knew that I wanted to pack my stuff up so that I could come and run. Remember, it's all about convenience. If we only do the things that are available to us, and we don't take the time to pack our clothes or pack that healthy meal, then guess what? We're probably not going to run or get our workout in. We're probably not going to eat healthy. So I made sure and took care of the convenience aspect of the whole situation. And I packed my stuff up, put it in my car. Okay, so let me backtrack just a little bit. So on, Memorial Day? Yeah, I went with some family members. Excuse me. I went with some family members to the river, and we had quite the swell time. I mean, we had a hi-ho time. We had a good time. Well, where we decided to float down to was some friends' property and some friends of a friend's, and we were going to float down. But what that meant was that we were going to have to get our canoe, the fun yak, and the kayak from the edge of the water all the way up to the land and back to where we were camping, which, by the way, ended up being a really long ways. Excuse me. Got a little bit of congestion. You guys deal with it. You love me anyway, don't you? Okay, so I helped in this process and drug this crap up the side of the hill, and by the end of it, I had jacked my knee up. And I don't just mean a couple of bruises. I mean all the way down the front of my shin, jacked up my knee. It was just a lot to expect of myself, but guess what? We did it. But what that's meant is that all week long, I've been dealing with a little bit of a limp. My kneecap's been giving me a little bit of trouble, so I've been trying to take it easy on it. Excuse me. And so today is the first day that I've even attempted to run. And so I immediately started off. And do you know, right as soon as I started, I began babying this knee. All I could think to myself was 4 days ago, I had to have my son help me to the stinking couch because I could not straighten my leg out. And then here I am out here fixing to pound some pavement. What the crap am I thinking? So immediately, before I even sensed a single ounce of pain, I began babying this left knee. Well, what that meant was that I now restricted other parts of my body, like the back of my hamstring, my calf muscle, my hip flexor. I was restricting all of these muscles so that I didn't even take a chance of overstretching or understretching this kneecap. I was so afraid of the pain that I totally took all these precautions. But do you know what happened? Do you guys know? Has anybody figured it out yet? In trying to avoid pain, I caused pain. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you how that happened. I worked so hard to not use the muscle that I was afraid of experiencing pain in, that it wreaked havoc in the rest of my leg and in my hip and in that side of my back. Now, of course, I didn't injure myself, because over the course of the few miles that I ran, I began to identify that this is what I was doing, and I corrected it, okay? But it hit me that sometimes in this life, I don't know, let's pick our heart for example. We protect our heart so much because it has been injured and it has experienced pain and it has experienced a wound, and we are so afraid of re-injuring our heart that we put up all these defenses around us. And we end up face planting in other areas because we're so afraid to experience pain in our heart. Now, what did that mean for me today on my run, talking about my knee? Well, it meant that instead of running as fast as I freaking could and trying to beat some time or anything like that, it meant that I needed to slow down. I needed to work on my form. I needed to work on where I was planting my foot. I needed to pay close attention to my knee versus trying to ignore it and pay attention to everything else. And do you know that as soon as I made these couple of adjustments, all of a sudden, the pain that I was experiencing in my hamstring, in my calf, in my ankle, in my hip flexor, all of a sudden it began to relax. And what do you know? The pain in my knee also did. Now, am I saying that if we've experienced pain in our heart, we should just pay attention to our heart and pay attention to everything else and then just move on like life is just grand and hunky-dory and we should just run a mile emotionally? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that sometimes when we pay so much attention to protecting one thing, that we drop our guard in another. And I can tell you without going into detail that this is something that I've experienced in my own life. It seems like when I try to protect one area of my life, another area is open for injury, to sustain a wound. So today, my encouragement is, what is that thing? What is that place inside of you that you are working so hard to protect? If it's your heart and you're working so stinking hard to protect it and you are so afraid to let anyone else get in there, I'm going to encourage you to just put the relationship thing on the back burner. If you are not fully prepared to relax all parts of you and go in open and honest and with everything you got, then why go in at all? And I know that that's probably not going to be the encouragement some folks want to hear, but I think it would be a little bit smarter to take the time to stretch out some of those painful places in our life and grow some of those places in our life that have experienced wounds and work on actually healing in those areas versus trying to achieve some other thing in spite of this wounded area. Because if we're not careful, while we're so focused on protecting our heart, our finances might go to crap. While we're so focused on protecting our finances, we may get the emotional catastrophe of a lifetime. While we're so careful to protect our mind, we may experience a physical injury. Now, I say all that to say that today, while I was running, as soon as I figured out what was going on and what I was doing to kind of jack up my run, and then I made the adjustments that I needed to make, guess how many miles I ran? 6. I ran 6 miles. And I know that I've ran 6 miles ever. Not in a row. Like maybe I ran for a little bit and then I stopped and then I got going again. But not 6 miles in a row. And certainly not around a concrete path and then onto a gravel path and then back onto a concrete path. And certainly never did it with a semi-injury. In this life, it is all about balance. And if we have one place in our life that we are experiencing pain and heartache and just devastation in, it is okay to take the time to heal. And when we jump back in the game, it's okay to work on balancing that one place with everything else around us. Don't know if that speaks to your heart, but it's something that I figured out that I can actually apply in my own life because I've certainly been dealing with it. And I just wanted to encourage you, get out there, live this life with all you got, and be willing to go the distance, but do it in a balanced way. I love you so much. Have an absolutely extraordinary night. Word.